What really happened that night will change how you see your own child's safety. The secret behind this 4-year-old's disappearance was hidden for decades by a shocking system failure. I am exposing the one piece of evidence the mother knew would solve the case. You must watch until the end to discover the chilling confession that finally emerged after 35 years. There are wounds that do not close, wounds that continue to bleed through decades, staining everything they touch, no matter how many years pass. The world likes to tell itself that time heals, that memory softens, that even the deepest tragedies eventually settle into the background. But there are some losses that do not fade, some absences that sit like a stone in the center of a family's life, making every breath feel heavier. The disappearance of a child is one such wound. And for the family of Jessica Gutierrez, the wound has remained open for nearly 4 decades, pulsing beneath every year that followed, waiting for the answer that was stolen from them. Jessica left this world before she ever had the chance to live in it. Not in the natural way, not through time or illness or fate. She was taken. Taken from her bed, from her mother's arms, from her siblings' laughter, from the life that was unfolding around her. She was only 4 years old. 4. A child who still mispronounced words, who reached for her mother when she was tired, who slept with soft toys and believed the world was safe. There was life. There was a little girl who was loved. Jessica was born into a family that was stitched together through love, grit, and survival. Her mother, Deborah, was not a woman who broke easily. Life had forced her to learn how to carry weight long before the world demanded this final, unbearable load. She had separated from Jessica's father when the marriage had crumbled under strain and distance and disappointment. She took custody of her children. She worked. She provided. She tried to make a home out of what was left. There were days when the money stretched thin, days when exhaustion pressed in, but she never let the world see how close she sometimes came to breaking. Love does not require ease to exist. Sometimes it burns stronger in the struggle. Jessica was the youngest, the smallest, the one everyone looked at with softness. Her siblings watched over her. She clung to her mother with the instinct of a child who feels safest in one particular pair of arms. Her laughter was light, her footsteps quick and unsteady. She had the kind of innocence that has no defenses because it has never been given a reason to build any. The world had not yet revealed its teeth to her, and then it did. The night before Jessica disappeared was ordinary, painfully ordinary in the way that tragedy often is. The family spent the evening together. There was no storm, no omen, no shadow creeping at the edges of the room, just a mother painting her daughter's small fingernails as the air settled warm and thick around them. Jessica wanted to sleep in her mother's bed, as she often did a small request, the kind any child might make, the kind any mother would grant. Deborah allowed her, but later, when Jessica's brother woke in discomfort, the sleeping arrangement shifted. A small, harmless decision, the kind that happens 1,000 times in a household. That shift may have been the difference between life and death. Some hours later, while the family slept, someone entered the home. This person moved with knowledge, not clumsy desperation. They came quietly. They selected Jessica. They lifted her from her bed. They carried her out. No one woke. No screams, no struggling footsteps. Just a door left ajar and a silence so complete that it would come to haunt everyone who survived that night. In the morning, the house felt wrong before the mind could process why. The front door was open. The dog was unsettled. A curtain had been torn down. Something in the air vibrated with absence. Deborah began searching in the way a mother does at first, with logic. Jessica must have wandered into another room. She must be hiding. She must be somewhere nearby, waiting to be found. But each room was empty. Each corner was still. And then came the ache rising through the chest, the one that feels like the ground tilting beneath the feet. Jessica was gone. Becky, the sister who shared the bed, spoke in the dazed voice of a child attempting to explain the impossible. She said she had seen a man in the night, a man with a beard, a man wearing what she called a magic hat, a child's phrase, a child's memory. Adults often dismiss what children say when it does not fit neatly into their understanding of the world. But sometimes children see the clearest of all because they do not yet know how to doubt what they witness. The police arrived, the neighbors helped. The searches began. Woods, fields, streams, abandoned structures, helicopters circled overhead. People called Jessica's name into spaces that did not answer. Every hour that passed was a blade twisting deeper into the mother's chest. But the investigation did not move with the urgency that such horror requires. It stumbled. It lagged. Decisions were made slowly. Assumptions were made too quickly. Deborah named the man she believed responsible early. Her words were dismissed as emotional, frantic, irrational. She was a mother. Mothers were often treated as though grief made them unreasonable. But grief can clarify truth in ways logic never will. Evidence did exist. There was a fingerprint found on a window. A fresh fingerprint, one that did not belong to anyone in the family. It should have been a direction, a lead, a call to action. Instead, it became a stalled clue in a stalled investigation. The kind of detail that gets recorded, filed, and shelved instead of pursued with fire. Time passed. But Deborah did not sit still. She fought, she demanded, she argued with the sheriff. She pushed the case into newspapers. She hunted for her daughter with the kind of determination that frightens those who would rather forget. She uncovered information herself. She tracked down stories, she collected names, and along the way, a new figure emerged, Thomas. A man whose life had once intersected with the family's in ways that now felt nauseatingly significant. There were whispers, there were statements, there were confessions spoken in the stale air of prison cells. He said he had taken her. He said she knew him. He said he disposed of her as though she were something less than human. But a confession is not enough. Not in the system built more to protect itself than to protect the smallest among us. The fingerprint, when finally compared against his, matched. That should have been the end of the story, but it was not. It would take 35 years for an arrest to be made. 35 years of birthdays without candles, 35 years of questions that took away sleep. 35 years of a mother aging beneath the weight of the same unchanged nightmare. The world around her moved on, sheriffs came and went, officials made decisions and then vanished into comfortable retirements, small town gossip faded, seasons shifted, but her daughter remained 4 years old forever. When the arrest finally came, it did not bring peace. It brought a kind of final, exhausted vindication. A recognition that the mother had been right all along, that her persistence was not madness but truth, that she had seen clearly while others looked away, that she had never spoken out of hysteria, but out of knowing. But Jessica is still gone. There is no grave to visit, no body to mourn over, no final trace of her, only a name spoken into the air of a world that failed her. The rage in this story is not loud. It is not a scream. It is a quiet burn, a steady flame that does not flicker. It is the rage of a mother who was not listened to, the rage of a child who was not protected, the rage of a truth that was delayed because those in power decided that urgency was inconvenient. Years do not heal what was stolen. They only teach the survivors how to carry it. This is not just the story of a missing child. It is the story of what happens when a system treats tragedy like paperwork, when justice moves only when it is forced, when a mother's love is dismissed as noise, when the world decides that suffering should be endured silently. But Deborah did not stay silent. She refused to disappear into the background of her own tragedy. She dragged the truth back into the light. She made the world remember her daughter's name, Jessica. A name that has outlasted those who turned away. A name that has survived silence. A name that still demands answers. The story is not finished. It may never be. But as long as the name is still spoken, she is not gone. And we are still listening. This case proves a mother's intuition is the most powerful force on earth. Let me know your biggest question after hearing this story. Tell me what you think the real reason was for the 35-year delay. Share your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. For more true crime stories that demand answers, make sure to follow the channel